big good evening to all of you who've made it to our last of 4 Momentum Science of Success for SMEs in partnership with KayaFM. These are, of course, our masterclasses that we have been having over the last 4 weeks. My name is Nozipho Shabalala, and what a pleasure it has been to journey with you as we have been talking to entrepreneurs in the small and medium-sized enterprise space, extrapolating from their journeys, really practical information and insights and tools to help us navigate what has certainly been difficult times brought about by this global pandemic. And right at the beginning, we acknowledged that we were aware of all the naysayers and all that they were saying about 2020 being cancelled until further notice. But we've been consistent in our pushback, saying that does not apply to us. And funnily enough, today it is the 1st of July, and what a beautiful moment to kick off the second half of the year with a renewed spirit of 2020 2.0. There's still so much that needs to be done. Of course, we take cognizance of the fact that small and medium-sized enterprises and the entrepreneurs who are at the forefront of these enterprises have been navigating really, really difficult times. And this is precisely the reason why Momentum and KayaFM have come together in a partnership and created this masterclass for us to begin to share knowledge and insights and tools. Now, we have journeyed using various themes each and every week. We started off on this theme of knowing, and we began to ask ourselves, what do I need to know about this new environment and how it's going to impact my business? And that was an incredibly rich conversation. Then we moved and we said, let's now have a conversation about understanding. What do I need to understand that is different from what I might have understood about my business, about my environment, and even about what my clients are looking for in this new normal? We then transitioned into a conversation about adjusting. And we began to talk about pivoting and agility and applying new tools and trades and ideas into your business so that you are able to adjust and find your balance in this new normal. And so today I'm really excited that we're going to be touching on such an important theme, and that is the theme of doing. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we may have 107 ideas about what we need to do differently in the new normal. But if we don't do them, all of these things just remain ideas. And our guests today are really, really super, super inspirational. They are the founders behind South Africa's very first on-demand alcohol delivery app called Bottles. It's such a pleasure to have Vincent, Viviers, as well as Enrico, Ferigolli. You're going to see them coming on again, but they are going to be really leading the conversation for us and helping us to learn from their journey, which has been absolutely incredible. Now, before we start, you all know that there's always a couple of ways that we try to get your voice and your claim of your share of voice into the conversation. We're going to be doing exactly that again today. I'm going to invite you to please use the chat function, the Q&A function, and send me your comments, send me your questions, and I will try to the best of my ability to pose these questions to Enrico and Vincent in the conversation. But I'm also looking out for something else. I'm going to ask you this question. It's a question I've asked every single week, and I'm going to ask it again today. What is your 2020 2.0? What is your 2020 2.0? Drop me your response in the chat function. And what I will do is that I'll monitor not only the questions that you're posing, not only the comments that you're making, but I want to see the richness of that response. And as always, we've got a spot prize to give away, and we're going to give away a business hamper at the end of this masterclass to the one person who has really stayed engaged in the conversation. And I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Nozi, you've been promising us a big, big prize since right at the beginning. You said if we stay for all 4 of the masterclasses, there's going to be a fantastic prize. Yes, and I am keeping my word. So after this masterclass, all I'm going to need you to do is to keep your eye on Momentum social media pages, where we're going to be making this big announcement after, of course, we've tracked who else has been in today's masterclass and has been in the other 3. This is a fantastic fantastic prize. It's a business coach for your business, and of course, an opportunity to be profiled in the ecosystem of KayaFM platforms. So Kaya TV, Kaya Radio. So all of these are going to be part of this package. So please go to the pages, the social media pages, to make sure that you are checking if you are walking away with that amazing prize. It is at Momentum ZA on Instagram and Momentum_ZA on Twitter. But tonight is special, guys, and I think you're going to agree with me. It's our final time together. It's our last time together. So I'm going to ask that we just set social media on fire tonight. If we could take a screen grab of the conversations that we're having, if we can really take some of the nuggets and the insights and post them on Twitter, it will be absolutely amazing. Of course, don't forget our hashtag is 2020 2.0, and we are following at Momentum ZA, or on Twitter, it's going to be Momentum_ZA. Please tag me at The Real Nosy. I'd really love to see all of that buzz coming alight on social media. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get into our conversation. Enrico and Vincent, I'm going to ask you to put your videos on. We really want to see you guys. Oh, fantastic. Now, guys, I'll be the first one to admit that when I first saw the gentleman, I had to guess who's who, who's Vincent, who's Enrico, and I'm very proud to say I got it right at the very first try, right? So gentleman in the white shirt is Vincent, and Enrico is wearing what looks like black or navy, so he's really trying to stay on point in terms of the brand colors this evening. All right, guys, let's get into your story. So Enrico, I'm going to come to you first. I mean, the story of bottles and how it came about is such an incredible South African story, but I know that it's a story that not everybody is familiar with. So maybe just talk us through, how did the idea of bottles come about?
Absolutely. So we first met in the corporate at Unilever, and after a few years of working there, we were a little bit tired. We wanted to try something different. Really our idea, as naive as it may sound today, was we want to launch an app. It was the time of, Uber had just started and WhatsApp were probably like a couple of years in, very early days of the of smartphones or smartphones really taking off and apps really taking off. And our idea was like, let's launch an app. And that was as easy as that. And because we were really wanting to get out of corporate. And then we were at a party one night, and we wanted to go buy some drinks, but we were really drunk. So we were like, oh, what are we going to do? And then that's kind of the light bulb moment. And that's where the idea of bottles first come about. We then researched it a little bit. We first found an American app that was called Vivino, where you could scan the bottle of wine and you could, save your wine. And we were like, where is the buy button? Why can't I buy it? I downloaded an app, I scanned a label, and I've done a lot of steps for a consumer to take. Where is the buy button? And then from there was, why only wine? Anything you can find in a bottle store. And that's really how it started.
That's an incredible story, and this comes from the question, where is the buy button? But it's an incredible story rooted in an incredible idea. But Vincent, if there's one thing that we do know about entrepreneurship, is that unless you do something about those ideas, unless you translate that idea into action, it dies as an idea. How did you move from ideation to doing that got you to your first delivery and your first sale?
I think it's a great point. I think one of the biggest lessons we've learned through this time is that ideas without execution are worthless, right? You can't believe in the last 4 years we've been doing this, how many people have written to us and said, hey, you stole my idea, you stole my idea. Guess what? An alcohol delivery app is not a unique idea. I mean, who hasn't want to press a button and have drinks magically arrive within an hour, right? So I think the biggest hurdle for us to overcome, we had some really good mentors when we were at that stage of our career, and they just kept asking us to keep doing the next thing. So we had the idea, and we went and spoke to a mentor. The mentor was like, put together a business plan for me, right? So we put together a business plan. We took him a business plan. He's like, well, go and build the thing already. Just go and do it. So then we went and we just did it. And I say that like it was easy. It was really tough. I think one of the hardest things we had to do was find developers. And I think now it's a lot easier to find developers in South Africa. At that stage, it was super difficult. We eventually found developers. After building a business plan, after scoping it out, we found developers. By the way, when we briefed those developers, we had an idea of an app we wanted, the front-end app. We didn't think at all through the rest of the business, right? We didn't think about, oh wait, the bottle store needs a system to manage orders. We need a logistics platform to do deliveries. Like, there were many pieces of the puzzle that I think we hadn't even figured out yet. But it always starts with, firstly, an idea doesn't mean much. And secondly, just go and do it. Go and start something.
Sure, I really love that response, and I'm going to come to you in a second around this obsession with perfection that often is the thing that holds many entrepreneurs in place. But before I do that, Rativa here says on our chat line, which is open, ideas without execution, absolutely useless. Execution pays the bills. We couldn't agree with you more. Mabalani, I see your amazing response. And because it's the first response of the evening, I will come back to it. But maybe Vincent, I want to come back to this idea where you're saying we hadn't thought out the entire value chain. We hadn't figured out everything about the business, but we knew we had an idea that was worth going to market with. So how did you ensure that you break through from this idea of, oh, I'm waiting for the perfect product before I get to market?
Look, I think we read a book back at that stage of our lives called The Lean Startup, and it has this concept in it, which was probably one of the most influential concepts for us as entrepreneurs, called a minimum viable product, or an MVP. Yeah. And the idea there really is at the crux of what your business idea is or what you're trying to do, what is the simplest version of this that you can create and put it out into the real world for customers to actually start using it. So instead of trying to build the perfect solution up front before you give it to customers, build the simplest, fastest solution, put it in people's hands, and then evolve it based on the learnings you get from them. And I think it's a super important insight, and one we didn't even follow perfectly, to be honest. I think we had this idea of the app that we wanted to build in our minds, and one of the pieces of functionality we spent an extra month or two working on was called Split the Bill, because back then there was a big thing with Uber of splitting the bill. So we spent all this time building a Split the Bill functionality, and that probably delayed our launch by 2 months, and guess what? No one used it. And the reality is, like, the simplest form of what we needed to do was have a menu where people can order things and pay for them, and then we'll deliver to you in 60 minutes. And then let your customer tell you what they don't like and what they do like, and evolve your product based on real customer feedback in the real world.
And I mean, I mean, when we first started, we did probably our first 1,000 deliveries or 2,000 deliveries literally by whipping out our phone, calling an Uber to the bottle stores and telling him, hey, I'm not at the bottle store, I'm not at the pickup point, go to the bottle store, say your name, telling you have an order to pick up, go and deliver it to the client. We built an entire business on using Ubers, WhatsApping with the store, and a bit of advertising on Facebook, right? So it's really, really important not to get stuck into like the perfect product.
Enrico, I love one of the things that Vincent said earlier, which was, you know, let's not try reinvent the wheel, that you guys did look at some market research and you're like, okay, this thing is already being done in the US, but we could do it differently. And so I want to bring that question to you to say, you know, how did you know that, okay, this is the thing that we need to be doing in the South African market. This is the gap that we're going to go after.
So look, I think two things. I think that from a consumer insight point of view, I think that the realization that the purchase of liquor is something that is always quite uncomfortable. You're doing your grocery store, right? Then you get out of the grocery store. You're already paid. You're already queued with your cart. You have to go back into the bottle store and queue again, and then you go, and 90% of the bottle store never look nice, and it's always like a kind of purchase that is never like, it's never nice to go to the bottle store, right? So, and we thought that there was a better way of doing it. I also come from a place where in any supermarket you can buy liquor, and I always wondered, like, why is this divide? Why can it be but it will not be easy for the consumer to do that. And I think that once we had this idea, which is, for me, the most important insight and the most important thing for any entrepreneur out there is that when you have the idea, don't think you were the first, go out and Google it. And that's what we did. And when we Googled it, we found that in the US, there were apps that had already raised $20-30 million. So there is a blueprint, right? So I think that, that's really important. Google it. That's the first thing. Unless you're building some machine learning, artificial intelligent rocket ship, then you can Google it.
So it's humility, guys. And that's the thing that I'm hearing, is that humility is going to be such an important characteristic if you're actually going to go into the market to say, I know I might not be coming up with something completely unknown and never seen, but the humility to say somebody's likely done it before and I'm going to build on that idea. Now, of all the entrepreneurs that I've spoken to on this masterclass and on every other broadcasting platform that I've had, if there's one thing that entrepreneurs have in common are battle scars from the early challenges. And I really, really want to get to some of those battle scars. So I think, Enrico, you're going to kick us, or I think it was actually Vincent who's going to kick us off on this question. Biggest challenges, biggest scars, and what were the biggest lessons you walked away with?
So look, when we launched our app, it was a very different market to what it is today, to be honest. In fact, to take you back to, this was early 2016. Mr. Delivery at the time was still a menu that would live on your fridge that you'd page through and you'd call them to place your order for Spur or Steers, right? So it was a very different market. So one, the on-demand app economy was very, very new, right? In fact, we didn't really know it at the time, but we actually launched the first on-demand shopping app in South Africa. I think the second thing is the logistics that supported that. It wasn't what it is today either, right? Now you see guys on scooters and bikes all around the country, nearly everyone offers a delivery service. But back in 2016, it wasn't that way, right? And I think Enrico spoke to this a bit earlier, but our very first order, I remember, because I actually managed this one myself, I pulled over on the side of Santon Drive and I got a call from the bottle store and they were like, we have an order. And we had no way to do the delivery. We had no guys with motorbikes and logistics software or anything. So we literally called an Uber and asked them very politely to go into the store, pick up the order, and if they wouldn't mind going and deliver it to a client of ours. And in fact, that was how we managed many of, probably for the first year or two, how we managed a lot of our deliveries. So I think we had a lot of, I think we almost paved the way for a lot of the on-demand economy that you know today, especially in the logistics side where I think we managed with Uber and WhatsApp. We were sending orders to drivers on a WhatsApp group for a very long time. Whereas now I think what you have is, if I were to start an on-demand alcohol delivery or grocery delivery app today, you can get an app in 6 months. You can get a logistics platform in 6 months. You can tap into thousands of drivers on the road in South Africa. So it's fundamentally a lot different from when it was when we were doing it. I think one of the other things is, as an entrepreneur, you have to work really, really long hours. So we launched a business that was operating Monday to Sunday, 7 days a week on long hours, which meant the two of us were working 7 days a week. And eventually we got to the point where we would give one person a weekend off. So I think we were working like 21 days on, 2 days off, 21 days on again. And it was crazy. But if you're going to start something, you've got to be willing to do it.
So there's a question from Charlotte. We're not going to answer it now, but I do want to put it out there because I suspect that weekend off is also just to have some breathing space from each other. But Charlotte says, how do the two gentlemen manage their business partnership and their friendship? Has it ever gotten in the way of business? And if so, how did they handle this dynamic in their relationship? I'm going to come to that because we are going to talk about partnerships. But I love this idea that Charlotte's decided that you guys are friends, so we'll go with that. And she's also decided that you guys do have some issues from time to time that you have to work through. What I am interested in, Stephanie Lupepe says, innovation at its best, exclamation. And I think that's really a big credit to you guys as well. What I do want to get into is the story of how you guys met as well. So you started it off, Enrico, you shared with us Unilever. But what I'm interested in is, having worked for such a big global corporation, when you guys decided to go the entrepreneurial route, were there any lessons where you were like, this we're certainly not going to do, because this is how big business does it, and we're a lean business, so we're not going to do that. And were there any things that you were like, we're definitely copying that, we're definitely going to take that and make it a part of our business? Enrico, maybe you can kick us off.
Absolutely. We were both spent 6 or 7 years at Unilever, really a big business school, right? So I think that there's a lot that we can credit to our experience there, to be honest. And I think that if I look back, I think that the opportunity to have learned like how to structure things, building a business plan, writing a business plan, and writing a forecast of like what can we do, and building like some basic business case to present to the first investors was really easy, because we had learned that already, right? And that was like a big plus. And I think it's a lot. I guess that a lot of entrepreneurs would get stuck into that first piece because they maybe haven't had that experience. And I think that after that, I think what we had to kind of unlearn was just that same structure, like almost, right, of you gotta move fast and break things, and it's not gonna be perfect, but you gotta start somewhere and do it. I think that the one thing that I personally I guess hate the most of being an entrepreneur is that I'm never happy. Because when I finally achieve what my vision was for that piece of functionality or product for my team, I'm already two steps ahead, right? So you gotta continuously doing that and break things and continue to grow there.
And that's the cycle kind of works in a way, because what we loved about Unilever was the systems and structures that it gave us and the way to approach problem solving. But we outgrew it to the point where we wanted to go faster than a big company would allow us to go. Now we started our own business and we've gone faster. The thing we're doing now as we're scaling is trying to build those same systems and procedures and rules and structure into the business we have now, because actually you really need those.
And it's a continuous journey, right? It's like it never stops.
So it's interesting. It's a concept that Jim Collins calls the flywheel, and the momentum that you get, as you're saying, from that cyclical progression. So lots of really interesting questions coming through. I'm gonna throw this one in before we transition into post 26th of March life, because I think that's going to be an interesting and a date that we're going to remember forever. But Nelly is asking an incredible question here. She says, so if I want to now begin to deliver my products, how do I adjust my prices? Should I increase the prices, or should the delivery fee come from the customer? I mean, it's a very technical question, but I'm sure you can shed us some light around the methodology that you guys used with your business.
I think so the delivery cost is something that users are usually quite, they're quite careful. They don't want to spend too much money on it. I think it really depends on the type of product and what you offer, right? So where in food delivery, for example, where you compare the delivery cost to getting to your car and quickly in 5 minutes pick up a pizza and come home, right? So I think that food delivery apps have that challenge, is like you can't charge too much for that service. A grocery delivery app like we are now, a grocery shop takes you an hour and a half, right? Yeah. And you get into your car and go to the grocery store. So the delivery cost and the delivery you can charge the consumer is ultimately justified. Personally, as the more operations person that deals with drivers and deliveries, every day, I think it's a service, and I think that to a certain degree, it is fair for a consumer to pay for it. I guess that the food delivery business pushed that really down, but I think that at some point, we will find that medium, because I don't think that anyone wins when the driver doesn't get paid enough and the food delivery app doesn't make enough money. There's no, it's not the right balance, and I don't think that's the long term of how you build this market.
Love it. Win, win, win across the board. Did you want to add something to that, Vince?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when we started, we were charging 50 Rand delivery fee, and our aim was really to just cover our costs. So to have our customer pay the cost. And as we've scaled, we've tried to bring that fee down. But I think it's a fair thing to ask the customer to pay your delivery cost, not to try and make money over to, but to at least cover your costs in that sense.
Love it. So love it, love it, love it. So I just want to go back to the very first comment that we got, which I thought was really beautiful. I asked the question, what's your 2020 2.0? And Mabelani says this, my 2020 2.0 means finally facing my fears. I'm at a point in my career where it looks like retrenchment is looming, and this has really challenged me to go ahead and work on the idea I've had for a very, very long time. I've realized that nothing grows from a comfort zone, and COVID-19 is exactly what I've needed to push me so hard off that I don't have any more options but to confront my fears and go in the direction of my dreams. Guys, if my makeup starts getting ruined in the middle of this masterclass, you must know it was that comment. It's a beautiful, beautiful comment, Mabelani. Thank you so much. Guys, 26th of March, it's almost like a line in the sand, right, for every entrepreneur in South Africa. I want to know, when the president made the announcement that we're going into lockdown, and in particular that there's going to be a ban on sales of alcohol at level 5 completely. Firstly, where were you? What were you thinking? What was your immediate reaction? Vince, you go first.
We were already working from home, because after the first announcement from the president about the pandemic, we knew we needed to try and get our whole team to work from home. So we, on the Monday straight after the announcement, got everybody Wi-Fi routers and set up, and cell phones and set up, so that we could move our entire office for working at home. So we were all working from home. And I think when the second announcement came that there was going to be a ban on liquor, I think two things kind of struck us immediately. The first was, wow, it was fear, right? We have a team that rely on us. We have a driver. We had, at that stage, we had a team of about 18 people. We probably had about 100 drivers on the road working for us. And this is our baby that we've spent 4 years building. And suddenly, this could all become nothing overnight, right? So the first thing was fear. And I think the responsibility we have to the people that have helped us build this over the 4 years, to not let that fear hold us back and to find a way to overcome it. I think the second thing was that our business is really geared up for a COVID world, to be honest. We have an on-demand delivery app, we've got logistics platform, and we're in e-commerce, right? And we're seeing e-commerce around the world grow. So we have all the systems, and we had the business model in place that we knew had a role to play to help keep people safe at home during a global pandemic. People don't want to leave the house. They don't want to go to the shops. They want to get things delivered. So I guess we knew with that we had a role to play in this, and that even though alcohol was going to be banned, we could pivot this business in a way that would work. Things happened really quickly as well, right? So the Thursday was the final day of alcohol sales. On the Friday, we had to agree commercials with Pick n Pay for how we were going to pivot the business from alcohol to grocery. And then on the Saturday, we had to begin the work in starting to do it. And by the Tuesday, just 4 days later, we had launched as a same-day grocery delivery platform.
I'm going to come to that, because the 96-hour pivot is certainly something that I haven't heard about. We talk about pivots in months, potentially, but in 4 days is incredible. But before I get there, Enrico, I want to know, what is happening in your head now when you get all alcohol completely banned in terms of sale? What's your reaction? Vince is talking about fear. What were you feeling?
Same, absolutely same. Fear and a lot of swear words that I can't say now. But also I guess at the same time the kind of at the back of our heads the kind of knowledge that there is still something, there is a way. We can't let it all go now. And also I guess what one of the participants saying now in that message is like, you could get retrenched, so might as well start your business. For us was almost like that same situation. We're already in here, right? It's not that I'm gonna go and call my boss and get my old job, right? I'm gonna find a way to figure this out. And we did, and we still are, to be honest, right? It has been an incredible journey. And I think that, to be honest, I think this has probably been the biggest challenge from a career point of view. I never delivered as much as I have in the last 3 months. It's been exciting, to be honest, as well. Difficult, and I know it's a global pandemic, so you use the word exciting carefully. But you know, it's kind of the heart of entrepreneurship is these kind of big challenges.
It's the closest
I love that.
I think it's the closest we've felt to starting a business, right?
Yeah.
I think anyone who has an idea and wants to start a business who has knows that thrill and rush there is for when you actually start a business. I feel like while this has been a super stressful time, it's also been quite exciting to almost feel like we're starting a business from scratch again.
Oh. And I love that. I mean, that phrase that this crisis is the heart of entrepreneurship. I mean, what a beautiful line. Guys, if you're not tweeting this, I don't know. I mean, this is what we should be tweeting. These are absolute nuggets coming out. So as always, we have a poll that we like to invite you to participate in. And I'm really going to want us to do that now, because it really gives us a sense of what's happening in your businesses as well. We've got about 100 participants on right now. Guys, for those of you who are putting up your hands in the participants list, please put your questions in the chat box. I'm not going to be taking hands. Please put your questions in the chat box. All right, let's launch the poll and let's all participate in that poll. So that's coming up. There you go. So here's the question, guys. What has your business had to do? Remember, we're talking about doing today. What has your business had to do to succeed during COVID-19? 1, my business has changed minimally in order to succeed, so we've stayed the same. Or my business now offers new services and or products, so you've changed your offering. Or my business has had to drastically change in order to survive the pandemic, so your business looks nothing like it was pre-COVID. And finally, my business had to close down due to COVID-19 as I wasn't able to do anything to survive. All right, so let's push some of those participation numbers. I want to get at least the majority having participated in the poll. I'm seeing we're almost at 40 people now, but it's interesting watching the numbers that a lot of us seem to have been compelled into action. Very few are saying, I wasn't able to do anything to survive. And it's a tight race, guys. It's a tight race between changing minimally, you know, and offering new services and products. So let me give it another couple of seconds so that we can begin to close and continue with our conversation. I'm going to give it 10 more seconds. And that, for me, is going to be a quick close. Final one, guys. Get your fingers on that poll and submit your poll. All right, so I'm going to close it now. So I'm going to end the poll. And I'm going to ask that we share the results. So here are the results on your screen. So there we have it. Leading literally by 1% is my business has changed minimally in order to survive. 30%, about a third, are saying my business now offers new services and or products, and my business has had to drastically change in order to survive the pandemic at 24%. The overriding narrative here is that most businesses have had to do something differently in order to survive, whether it was a minimal change or a drastic change, but we've had to change our focus in terms of what we have had to do. Okay, fantastic. I think that sets us up to get into the case study. I'm putting my money on it. There's going to be a case study in one or more of the business schools about this 96-hour pivot that Bottles was able to achieve. So let's get into that. Enrico, let me ask you first, because you said I'm the operations guy. I make sure that things happen. How did you manage to go live on the Tuesday, having received the news, I think just 3 or 4 days before? How did you manage to change what you had to do and respond with such agility?
I think, first of all, I think we could have never done it without the team that was, without our team. Literally in those 4 days, I can remember how our entire team, 18 people, just working day and night, going from like our menu of liquor to a menu of grocery that we couldn't really understand, and literally doing all sorts of things to really pivot the model to grocery. I think that we also, like, in all fairness for all the entrepreneurs out there, I think that we pivoted in 4 days, as in we started selling grocery in 4 days, but the reality is that we have been pivoting for 3.5 months. And am I happy as to where I am today? Do I think that my app is the best grocery experience? No, there's a lot of things that I want to do and a lot of things that I want to add. And we just kind of started more or less in the same way that 4 years ago we decided that we were going to start. I think that also the thing is that we managed to pivot in 4 days because we worked hard at this for 4 years, right? Yeah. So it just didn't come onto our lap. We had a business relationship with Pick and Pay for 2 years before this. We never necessarily advertised. It was more about bottles and less about the partnership. But we had been, having this partnership. We were fully integrated. The business has been working together for a long time. We trusted each other, and it came out naturally. The Thursday we get the ban, and on the Friday we pick up the phone and we come to the meeting with the exact same idea. And it was so fun because I had the idea while running, and I'm like, we're gonna do this, right? And I come to the meeting and they have the exact same idea. I'm like, oh, this is like, it's just because we built that partnership and relationship in those 2 years.
I'm going to come to partnerships in a second, but I think that's really incredible, because what I'm hearing, and Vince, I want to test this with you. What I'm hearing Enrico say is that it wasn't just about the 4 days, but it was also about all the work that we put in the years prior. And that is the thing that gave us the buffer and the wiggle room to be able to do things differently. But I know that you had a very unique experience where you actually had to confront a lot of these COVID-like challenges about a year prior in your business. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and how that experience set you up to cope better in a COVID-19 environment?
Look, I think I want to just first echo what Enrico said. A 4-day pivot was 4 years in the making, right? So we spoke a little bit earlier about how in our business, we were learning how to set up every single part of the on-demand economy from the start, right? There was no logistics part. We had to learn the bad way how to do that, and we came through that. I think one of the biggest areas that we've made in our time here is we had the idea that we were going to rebuild our entire platform about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago now even, and we were going to get new developers to do that. And we took a leap of faith in doing that, and we burnt a lot of money at the time. And it got us to the point where we wasted 9 months trying to build a brand new tech stack and a brand new system and a lot of money. And we had to at some point decide, this is a mistake, and it's better to stop this mistake now than to carry on hemorrhaging and to put more money and more time into it, and actually go, let's focus back on what we have and what we are doing and making it better. I also think we've been very fortunate during this period that we've seen a lot of great success out of this pivot. We've more than doubled our reach. We've quadrupled our sales. We've been able to hire probably 14 more people. We've probably got 2.5 times the drivers working for us. And I think I'm just really fortunate that through what is one of the most difficult times for the world and working in a very uncertain environment. And uncertainty, by the way, is probably one of the biggest challenges. Like the feeling of uncertainty, everyone right now feels that. We had that uncertainty plus the uncertainty of whether we were going to have a business in a couple of days. To be able to come through that and to still be having a role to play to create more jobs in an economy that's struggling, I'm just super grateful for it, to be honest.
So lots of gratitude coming through, but I mean, I have to repeat these numbers, doubled reach, quadrupled sales, 14 more people in the team, 2.5 times more drivers. These are the kind of headline numbers that any entrepreneur is going to really, really just kill for. And it's interesting that it's in a moment of a crisis that you're able to get this momentum, if you will. But here's the thing, let's get into the partnerships, because I know there's lots of questions around the partnerships. Enrico, you spoke about, the partnerships that were in the back end supporting the business, your relationship with Pick and Pay and so on. And you say you come into a meeting with Vince and it seems as if you guys have the same light bulb. But that's okay until you have to take it to your partners and you have to now have a conversation with them that says, hey guys, the thing that you've been partnering with us in doing, we're not going to be quite exactly doing that thing anymore. How does that conversation go? And what lesson can you share with us about how to manage the relationships with your strategic partners?
Yeah, look, I was saying before, we've been partnering with Pick and Pay since 2018, and in these 2 years, we've built a very strong relationship, and we were working together very well, and we spent a lot of time building and nurturing that relationship, not only from a head office to head office, but also with all the stores that we partner with, right? So before COVID, we had about 60 stores that we partner with. And when COVID hit, we basically our first port of call was all of the liquor managers and the liquor assistants that now were, sitting in the grocery store with no job. Those were actually the first people that managed bottles in the grocery store. So imagine how hard it was for a liquor store manager now to go and pick cheese and milk. But it was the fact that they almost felt as part of this as we were, and almost they were walking into the grocery store head up, head high, because they knew how to do this, and the others didn't. And I mean, we basically had the same kind of conversation with them. I think that Pick and Pay realized really quickly that they had a role to play too, that they had to keep people at home, and that not only the business impact or the financial impact of having less people walking into the store, but also the fact that there's at some point in time your business has a responsibility towards the country. And I think that was the actual reason why all of this happened, because we both realized that we had the means and we had the tools to help the country during this lockdown period, and we all went for it.
To add to that, if I can quickly, I think that we had built, to your point, we built trust with Pick and Pay over 2 years, that when this happened, they trusted us that we didn't need to go through a 3-month deliberation on commercials and contracts and how is this going to work and can you do it. They said, we've worked with you guys for 2 years. We've seen what you guys have put into this business. We know we can trust you. And it was a mutually beneficial partnership, to be honest. Pick and Pay have their own online business doing e-commerce through a website. It's not on-demand delivery. It's kind of at best next day. And at this time, because so many people were ordering online, I think the fastest slot you could get for Pick and Pay was 14 days, right? So for Pick and Pay, they went, we can't keep up with the volume we're getting through our e-commerce system. We have a partner here that does on-demand same-day delivery, and now more than ever people need this. It just made sense from both sides, and because we have the trust in the relationship, it meant we could just blow all those barriers and get to work in doing it.
So it's incredible how when there is trust already in the system, how it can unlock things that would either potentially be tensions or blockages in the relationship. But let's go back to Charlotte's question, Enrico, because Charlotte was like, business, friendship, does business and friendship sometimes clash? And how do you resolve those moments when the two of you don't agree on things and decisions have to be made so that things get done?
Yeah, this is where I'm gonna make you shed some tears, because I mean, our story is a story of like this romance since day one. In all fairness, when I arrived in South Africa back in 2011, and I really wanted Vincent's job, and Vincent was still in the US, and I didn't know him, right? And one day I pitched for this job that I wanted within Unilever, and someone told me, no, this job is just already for Vince. So Vince was actually my first boss. the person that I dated just before knowing, and then the very first day that we meet each other, literally the same night we're out together to like 4 or 5 in the morning. So it is possible to be best friends and business partners as well. And I think that I guess that the magic ingredient for me is trust. That he's better than me at strategy, and I'm better than him in execution. And we know when we are supposed to make a decision, and when we are supposed to follow the other lead. When we need to challenge each other. When we need to tell the other one to stop. Or to continue, and I just think it just comes natural when those kind of balances are right. When you don't think you are the best, but when you think that there is someone that you can always learn from, and when you trust that other person more than you trust yourself, there I guess is the magic ingredient.
It certainly is a very beautiful story, very sentimental story. I won't ask Vince if he liked you as much when you guys eventually met. He probably didn't like you very much. But Vince, the question I want to bring to you is, I mean, we're talking about doing tonight. We're talking about execution. We're talking about good implementation. But we know that doesn't happen without good decision making. And I suppose then my question to you is, what is your approach towards decision making? And what happens when you guys don't agree on a decision that needs to be taken?
So I think it requires very good communication, firstly, and I think it requires the knowledge that regardless of whether you have different opinions, that you're both trying to achieve the same thing. The end goal is a shared end goal. And I think this is something we were quite fortunate to get right very early in our business relationship. I mean, we were already best friends, but to move that into a business relationship often is very difficult. But we decided very early on, we're going to be 50-50 in this business, and that we need to be aligned on every decision. So when we're not aligned, we are not going to go face our investors or our partners or the rest of our business until we've bashed it out and we come to an alignment. And that doesn't mean that both of us are going to be happy, but when we come to an alignment, we're both going to support each other in whatever that decision is. So I think to answer the first part of the question in terms of how we make decisions, I think it requires open and direct communication, right? Yeah. You can't not have things said. If there's something that he doesn't agree with or is bothering him, he will come and tell me straight to my face. And at first it will set me off and I'm going to be upset about it. But I take the time to rather than react, to think, why is Enrico saying this, and try and be empathetic towards him and justify his point of view. And then he comes around to my point of view. And through that process, I think we evolve the decision that is the right decision to be made together. But it's by direct communication, to be honest. And there's times where it's uncomfortable. Like we'll actually upset each other and annoy each other and fight. Trust me, like any relationship, this is like a marriage without the sex. It's kind of like that. It's when you're getting into business with someone, it's that intense.
I don't know if you're allowed to say that, but at least I'm not the client. That's fine. Enrico, what do you want to add?
I mean, two quick things. So one actually thing that I don't think I've ever shared. Very, very early on, at some point, we had to have this discussion about, like, are we 50-50 into this business? And he had the idea. So I was going to accept that he was going to have a bigger share than me. And he came to me and said, the idea is nothing, the execution is everything. We should have 50-50, right? And that was, going to that same direction of, we just gotta have to be as invested into this, even if he had the initial idea more than I did of an alcohol delivery app, right? But the alignment is the most important thing. The other thing is that he actually told me that I thought was really, really important was to never leave anything unsaid, right? So the relationship breaks when resentment builds, right? So and why do you build resentment in your personal relation, your business relationship? It's because you don't say why you are angry with someone. When you say it, right? You don't feel as bad, and it's never as big as you think it is. It builds in your head because you're not saying it. And
Oh
that's
my
what
goodness.
we always do, right? We tell each other how we have hurt each other so we can move on from it.
This is a marriage that works, guys. This is a marriage that works, clearly. So here's a question from here's a question from Frank Buenya, but Frank is one of our regulars. I've seen him on these masterclasses, but I'm going to ask Frank's question a little bit differently. Frank is saying, what has COVID-19 done to your creativity and your patience? Now, we're running out of time to answer the question, so I want to do a finger pointing. Who's the more creative one between the two of you, and who's the more patient one between the two of you? And all you have to do is point. So let's start with the creativity. Who's more creative between the two of you? Okay, who's more patient between the two of you?
I don't know if I'm but otherwise, yeah, I'm not always patient.
So I'm very impatient. That's why he's not patient, but I'm very impatient.
I got you. You're on the other end of the spectrum. I've got two more questions that I need to fire through. The first one is a mindset question. I mean, it's been abundantly clear, guys, from the beginning of the conversation that you guys started seeing opportunity really early on. You really started thinking, how do I become part of the solution really early on? But maybe you could just share with all our guests that are with us tonight the importance of just reframing what you are seeing and reframing it away from crisis, away from threat, and being able to see the window of opportunity. How did you guys do that? Maybe Vince, you can kick us off.
Look, I think it's not an easy one to do. I think the biggest thing that holds back most people from starting a business or from tackling their problems is fear. The fear of failure, the fear of doing. And I know personally for myself, I'm quite a perfectionist. So what I suffer from is that I want to do things the perfect way to do them, which means I often take all the time thinking about the perfect way to do something and don't ever do it. Where luckily right next to me, I have someone who's more of a doer, right? So he will to start something, he just starts and gets stuck in. I think with COVID, it's been a very uncertain time, and it's been a time of a lot of chaos. And I guess out of that emerges opportunity. And I think it's the responsibility of entrepreneurs to not let their fears hold them back. For now is our time as entrepreneurs to take some of this pressure off our government and our economy and to do things and to make an effort to try and create more jobs and to stimulate the economy. So we can't let fear hold us back in this time, in my view.
This is the time for entrepreneurs to step up and do things. I really, really love that. Now, we're getting to our final question, and I'm going to ask you both to reflect on this for me. You know, when we started this conversation, we took cognizance of the fact that, yes, it's the 1st of July. Yes, we're halfway through the year, but we know that a lot of people's plans have been derailed, dreams have been put on hold, and really part of this conversation has been almost reigniting a lot of that sense of doom. And your journey has been incredible in terms of helping us to do that. My question to you, and Enrico, I'll ask you to go first, is what's your 2020 2.0? And I'm not only asking about bottles. I want to know for Enrico, personally as well, what is still out there for you that you still want to achieve, that you're not going to let COVID-19 take away from you?
Absolutely. Again, from a business point of view, the biggest on-demand grocery app in the country, and I will settle for nothing less. I think we have a unique opportunity. We are having fun while doing it, and I think this is going to be big, and we want to be a catalyst. The biggest thing in the last 3 months that has kept me going is thinking that literally we doubled our team, that no one got fired, that we managed to double our team, to expand our office. This is really important. We got to do it, right? So that's for me, and we will continue doing it because, you know, we're just at the beginning of this pandemic. There's a lot more to go out, and there's a big role for us. I think that personally, I think that the working from home has been a big thing and a big opportunity, and something that I'm putting I'm trying to put as much focus and attention as I can. It's beautiful, to be honest, to work from home and have your kids at home with you and seeing them grow, especially after having, spent the first years of their lives working 21 days on and 2 days off. So that's for me I guess my 20.2 or
Love it. And it's just so, your dreams are still so big and so ambitious, and that's just really beautiful to see that you haven't been derailed and your dreams haven't been dimmed, Enrico. That's fantastic. Vince, what's your 2022.0?
So for me, I think similarly to Enrico, from a business perspective, we started this year wanting to be the leading online alcohol delivery platform in the country, right? And I think now with COVID, our dream is even bigger. We want to be the leading online grocery and alcohol player in the country. And that's a 5 times bigger opportunity than when we started at the beginning of the year. And it's one that we pivoted and took on quite quickly, but now is really exciting for us because it just opens so much more opportunity for us. We're not just, we knew that there was an opportunity beyond liquor, that there was an opportunity in grocery, in pharmacy, in baby, and all these other verticals. And now this global pandemic has kind of been, in a way, has pushed us to be able to start going after those opportunities. And from a personal perspective,
I've just lost you there, Vince. Just make sure you're not muted. From a personal perspective, I've just lost the guys. Can you maybe just make sure that you're not you are not muted? So try again, Vince. You're muted now. Try again. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, perfection. Yes.
So, and from a personal perspective, for me, I think I've been very fortunate during this time. My business has not only been survived, but it's thriving. I was very fortunate to get engaged during COVID, which was a really great experience. I think for the rest of this year, I want to focus on. I think the last 3 months has been really difficult for my partner. Right, I'm her work colleague and I'm her partner, but I've been so consumed in trying to pivot a business and grow a business that I haven't been very present for her. And unfortunately now really all she has is me, because she spends 24/7 at home with me. So my other personal 2022.0 would be to try and be more present and to be a better partner to her as well.
Oh, that's fantastic, to try to be more present and a better partner. And obviously we know that this is the real marriage that is actually that is coming up on the back of that engagement, not the marriage to Enrico. So here's what we're going to do, guys. As always, I always make the promise that we're going to give away a spot prize. So Vince and Enrico, stay with me, because we are going to be announcing somebody who's walking away with the spot prize this evening. They've been engaged and they've been really sending some amazing questions. So may I ask that if you have not answered my 2022.0 question, that you do it now. I'd really love to see some of your responses. And while you do that, here is a short video courtesy of Momentum.
We're going to love each other much more. I'm going to give these guys my support.
I'm going to be so loud. The whole world's going to hear. I'm not going to worry about how many likes I get. And just like myself, I'm going to give nature a big hug.
Scared anymore.
I'm gonna help give him the world he deserves.
I want him to be with his friends.
And there we have it, guys. Beautiful, beautiful message. It gives me and Vince and Enrico, because we're all announcing this, the greatest of pleasure to award tonight's Spot Prize Business Gift Hamper to, drumroll, Nelly Mutswari. You have been fantastic. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for your participation. You've been great. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big thank you to Vince, to Enrico, for just really opening up so much in their story and sharing so much in the story. Thank you so much for participating and for really sharing with us today. I'd also want to make a couple of announcements. Now, you've probably said to me, guys, remember that we've said there is a final prize that is to be awarded. That final prize is going to be awarded. You need to please look at the social media pages. That's the Momentum social media pages, Momentum ZA on Instagram and Momentum_ZA on Twitter. And that's where you're going to see that announcement of that winner. It is a business coach. And of course, it is also an opportunity to have your business profiled on the Kaya ecosystem, which includes Kaya TV. As always, we're going to be sending you the links to this particular masterclass that we've just had. And so please look out for that in your email. All of that is going to be coming up. Now, I've got my judges in the background saying, Nozi, we can't give Nelly the prize because she's won it before. And so my heart breaks, Nelly, because that means you are like a super incredible. But a second runner-up very closely to you was Frank, who's also been very close to us. So Frank, we hand over the prize to you. Nelly, thank you for always being such a super trooper, but I understand that you've won the prize before. And so this time we give it to Frank Ngwenya, who was also really, really fantastic today. I'm going to make sure I haven't forgotten anything other than let's keep this conversation going. It's been an incredible journey for me over 4 weeks to really journey with you and the entrepreneurs in the small and medium-sized enterprise. Incredible. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Momentum. Thank you, KayaFM. And please follow me at The Real Nosy. For now, it's goodbye.